Now the current had a westward drift, and it was to the west that the dark islands lay. All day, as the canoe drifted onward, the boy watched the distant shadow shape of land, not daring to take his eyes from it, lest it vanish into the sea. Hunger and thirst were lulled into forgetfulness. There was only this one reality: land, escape from the sea. Weak as he was, he still clung to the thwart, his lips whispering a silent prayer of gratitude. With waning afternoon, the island took more distinct form as the canoe drifted nearer. It was high and peaked, its valleys blue shadowed against the paler tone of the sky. Hour by hour, with every lift of the swells, the island rose higher and higher, filling Mafatu's soul with wonder. Hikaru, the only land he had ever seen, was as flat as his hand. But a great single peak crowned this strange island. Trees rose green and fair, tier upon tier of them, from the shoreline into the foothills of the purple mountain. Yuri had caught the scent of the land now and was quivering with delight. Then from far off came the first muffled thunder of the reef. The boom of the surf high bursting on the coral barrier. That sound, was it the voice of Moana? Someday, Mafatu, someday. Involuntarily, the boy shuddered. Would his ears never be free of the sea god's threat? Mafatu was powerless to guide his craft. He sensed that the current had quickened. He could only watch helplessly as the little canoe, swift as the following gulls, rushed to meet the tides of the island, where they met and churned in a cross sea of conflict. Now across the swells came a sound like a chorus of ghostly fishermen, weary after their day's toil. Seabirds, always complaining, never at rest. Well, softer, yet rising above it was another sound, the voice of the reef itself, quieting with sundown, like the reassuring hush of a mother to her child. Night stole up from the face of the sea, enveloping the world. There was no moon, but the black sky was spangled with unguessed millions of stars, other worlds, other suns. To the watching boy, with land in the offing, they seemed closer and more friendly. The bottom star of the Southern Cross pointed to the end of the world. A soft land breeze, heavy with a scent of flowers, wafted out across the dark waters, tantalizing, bittersweet. Weak with thirst, the boy drifted now into a merciful sleep. He struggled against it, like a weary swimmer fighting a riptide, but his head drooped and his eyes closed. He was aroused at midnight by a thunderous tumult in his ears. Of a sudden, he felt the canoe under him lifted and flung high into the air. Then down it crashed into splinters upon the reef. Boy and dog were hurled headlong into the boiling surf. The shock of cold water brought Mafatu half back to consciousness. Blindly he struck out, fighting for survival. Yuri, where was he? No sign of the dog. The boy was aware that the canoe must have been flung over the barrier reef, for here the water was scarcely troubled by wind or tide. Now he was swimming. Somewhere ahead, a strip of beach, salt white in the darkness, lured him onward. His muscles did it of themselves, only a will to live. A strip of sand white in the night. He caught the gleam of a shark's belly close at hand, but on he swam. His unhampered limbs moved freely through the water. Of a sudden, there was something solid beneath his feet. Sand. Mafatu stumbled, staggered, fell to his knees in the shallows. His lips moved in dry, soundless speech. Lying there with the water rippling and breaking over him, he pulled himself half upright, swayed onward. The palms, trooping to the edge of the beach, were motionless in the night air. All the world seemed to hold its breath as this boy climbed up out of the sea. He fell to the sand once more. Then, guided by he knew not what impulse, he dragged himself to the edge of the jungle. A murmur of water reached his ears, soft as a chuckle of pleasant laughter. Water, sweet water. Down the face of an age-worn rock, a small cascade lost itself amid ferns and cool mosses. A ragged, strangling cry broke from Mafatu's throat. He stood upright to full height. Then he crashed to the mossy bank. One cheek lay in the cool water. The moon lifted above the rim of the palms. It outlined in silver the form of a boy, thin with hunger, naked as the day star. It revealed a small, wet dog dragging himself across the beach to his master's side. Mafatu lay unmoving. Before Yuri drank, he touched the boy's cheek with his hot muzzle. And that is the end of chapter 2. I really like this story.